Everyone, once been here at the Battle Report. So we're playing the third scenario in the Nagash End Times book, the Battle of Mordkin Lair. I don't know if you're familiar with the fluff behind it, but basically Manfred von Karstein has kind of been sent up to retrieve the Fellblade. He's carrying with him the severed hand of Nagash, and there's a connection between the hand and the Fellblade because the Fellblade was used to cut off said hand. So he's using this relic. It's leading him to the Fellblade, so it takes him to this underground cavern, and then all these caves and tunnels and stuff. It makes for some kind of insane fight between his army and the Skaven. So to represent that, the table is divided in sixths, and you take turns placing a unit. So you're only going to deploy 3 units, and then you have to deploy your general. And everything else has to come on as reinforcements. So we placed first, and we put, it's not like cheating, but we have a unit of rats with the Screaming Bell, with the Grey Seer, but it has to be in 1 unit, so we put all that down. There's no way in the scenario rules to deploy that or bring it in as reinforcements without technically breaking the rules. So we talked about it. We've decided that was the best way to do it. And so my opponent playing the VC, he has to deploy a zombie dragon because in the fluff, Manfred comes into these tunnels and sees a big heap of dragon bones, and he raises it up, and it's a zombie dragon. So he has to deploy a zombie dragon, and then he decides just to deploy 2 units of dogs, just as chaff. He's going to bring everything in together. So he chooses the upper left-hand section, and then we throw down just some rats top middle just to secure that space. He goes somewhere else, and we secure the bottom right. So we're just trying to get him to split up a little bit so that some things he deploys will be outside of general's leadership and then therefore cannot march. After those 3, then you deploy your general. So we have our general in the bottom middle. The generals have to be deployed at the table edge. So there's Feskett, and he's just a warlord with an extra hand weapon with the Fellblade. So basically he has 5 attacks and then just really high strength. So, but at the beginning of all our turns, he has to roll, and he has a 1/3 chance of taking a wound. Manfred deployed in the bottom left. So here are the special rules. All vampire spells are 1 easier to cast. Any kind of shooting, which doesn't affect this game too much, but we do have a warp fire cannon. So they're limited to a 24-inch range. Uncertain footing. Everything's dangerous terrain. Everything is dangerous terrain for cavalry, monstrous cavalry, and chariots. Though my opponent has a unit of Blood Knights, a unit of Black Knights, so every time they march or charge, they're going to take dangerous terrain tests, so that's kind of nice. And then Undeath Ascendant, which means that whenever I win combat and he crumbles 1 less than he otherwise would. Other rules. Every turn you bring in up to 3 reinforcements. The reinforcements can be a unit or a character. Well, we have, if you don't count the Grey Seer as a character for deployment purposes, because he kind of got a free deployment, we still have, we put the general down, we have a BSB, and we have 2 Warlock Engineers. And so if we bring on a character, that counts as a unit. Anyway, we can bring in up to 3 any given turn, and where it goes is randomized between the 3 areas that we originally deployed in. Vampire counts reinforcements can only come on from the table edge where Manfred was deployed. So I thought that made it kind of interesting. In some ways, it's probably what you'd want to do as vampire counts anyway, so that you can keep your forces near the general. It's really rough for Skaven because you could have a unit deploy all the way across the table where it doesn't do any good whatsoever. So here's a critical one. If the generals, Feskett and Manfred, get in a challenge and one kills the other, boom, game's over, that side wins. And so both of us were hesitant to do that. They have the same initiative, and really they should just kill each other. I think the advantage goes to Manfred because even though the Fellblade does d6 wounds apiece with 5 attacks, I hit on average 2. And even if I wound 2, then I do d3 wounds each. Manfred has 5 wounds. So you should kill him, but you may not necessarily kill him. Manfred should just stomp this Skaven warlord with no protection. But neither one of us really want that. If they get in a challenge, kill each other, then we just go by regular points. But we kind of don't want to take the chance that the game ends that way because how anticlimactic. Anyway, so here's a picture of the zombie dragon that's in the top right. And here's his left. You see his 2 units of dogs, and there's Manfred. My opponent is scrambling to try to paint enough stuff as quickly as he can. We play a game every 2 weeks, and he just can't paint everything. Manfred did not get painted. So he turns to go first. So he brings in a unit of 2 Fellblats. So Manfred has all the spells from the lore of death and from the lore of vampire. So that's pretty sweet. He can raise units such as dogs and bats above their beginning size. So that's one of his plans, is bring small units of chaff, and then he can just blow them up. So anyway, he brings in a unit of Black Knights. He brings in a vampire who is in the front left of that unit, and then Manfred joins the front right of that unit. The vampire, I don't remember his exact build, but he's meant to be killy. I know he has Red Fury. He's just a killy vampire. So there's a close-up picture. And so we go to the magic phase. He grows the dogs, and I'll just let it go. I don't care. And oh my gosh, I mean, he didn't have enough dog models, but basically every skeleton model represents a dog. So actually that unit is much farther back than even that shows. There's 14 dogs in it, which are not a scary unit, but it can get ridiculous where they just get so big that they just hang around forever. So go to Skaven turn 1. Let's see. Feskett does not take a wound for the Fellblade, which is always appreciated. We brought in a Warp Lightning Cannon, and it came in our bottom middle section, which is great because, again, it only has a 24-inch range as per the scenario special rules. We brought in a unit of rats, and they came in top middle, and that was, not wonderful, but that's fine. And then we brought in a Doom Wheel, and it came in top middle, which was perfect because it can come in and then it gets its random movement and was able to charge the flank of the zombie dragon. It's not necessarily going to kill it, but it's certainly better than anything else we had. Now, I know that during my opponent's movement phase, I mentioned that he hadn't moved the zombie dragon, and he didn't want to. He left him there. So I would love for him to comment on this report and tell me why. I mean, it wasn't likely that Doom Wheel was going to come on and just be in that perfect section to get the charge on him, but it certainly was a possibility. So we join Feskett into the unit with a Screaming Bell. And there's this thing. This is very nice to have. I know my opponent has a Terrorgeist, and we want to be able to shoot at it. And we can't shoot this turn, but that's okay. We have a Help Hit Abomination, which I'd really like to bring in, but I'm afraid to bring it in as long as my opponent has a Terrorgeist on the table, because I think it'd just be free points given to him. Yeah, there's that. And I think that's just an overall picture. You can see the rats. Yeah, we have those 2 small units of rats. They're just kind of working their way over. So we go to the magic phase, and we cast the, I think it's Scorch, but it's basically a spell where every model in the unit has to take a toughness test or it dies. We cast it on his dogs, and he's like, yeah, whatever, let it go through. Who cares? So then, when the spell is done, you have to roll a d6, and we rolled a 1, which means that my opponent got to pick where to place it, any unit within 12 inches, and he put it on our huge unit of clan rats. Every model had to take a toughness test or take a wound. Oh my gosh, it cut the number of rats in half. I think maybe even slightly more than half. That unit's brutal otherwise because it's unbreakable and just so many bodies there, and boom, just like that, the bodies got cut in half on our turn. That sucked. And yeah, the Doom Wheel takes out the zombie dragon. That's huge. That's a zombie dragon. That's rough for the VC. Vampire counts turn 2. He flies 1 unit of Fell Bats up to redirect the clan rats. He brings another unit of bats on. Let's see. He brings on his Terrorgeist and a unit of Blood Knights. So I'm kind of glad the Terrorgeist came on. Now I have something to shoot at with our Warp Lightning Cannon. And Warp Lightning Cannon is just so ridiculous. It's so easy to hit things because not only do you have the distance, but you have the template. It's just so much easier. Anyway, overall it looks like that. And during the magic phase, he grows some more dogs, which again, doesn't really matter. But there you go. And then he casts a template spell that gets pushed, hits our unit, goes through, and I don't remember. I think it's take a toughness test or die or something like that. Anyway, so we lose even more rats. This huge unit is down. So the good news for us is they're unbreakable. The bad news is we're running out of bodies, and vampires tend to be killy, in case you haven't noticed that. We go to Skaven turn 2. So a unit of... We pull in a big unit of rats, and they roll up our middle section, which is great, so they can protect our flank from those Blood Knights, because I really don't need Blood Knights joining the combat with the Screaming Bell, because they would just make that whole unit die so much faster. Yeah, so if this is the kind of the top left, we took a small unit of rats and charged his unit of dire wolves, which, I mean, it doesn't affect anything, but why not? Then we go to the magic phase, and so we cast a spell to lower the toughness on the dogs, and my opponent's like, yeah, whatever, who cares? And I agree with that. But it's nice because no matter how big that unit gets, if we cast that spell 2 more times, then the whole unit goes away no matter what. And this template that shot through us and hurt so many things, I don't know if I forgot about it or just said screw it because it's going to scatter somewhere. It goes right back through our lines and kills more rats. Are you kidding me? We haven't gotten combat yet, and this unit has been cut by almost 2/3. Just damn it. Wait, I'm going to go up one. I think the Grey Seer took a wound. Either the Grey Seer or the Screaming Bell. One of those two took a wound. Feskett did not take a wound from the Fellblade, which is appreciated. And after combat, yeah, go rats. These guys, between the charge and killing, doing some wounds, and crumble, they get that unit down to 1. So, again, doesn't affect anything. Warp Lightning Cannon hits the Terrorgeist, and there's a die with a 5 on it. I want to say we did 5 wounds to it. It only has 6, which sounds great, but the problem is it's so easy. My opponent can cast a spell and heal a wound, and then the lore attribute can heal a wound. He casts other spells that are otherwise meaningless, but it heals a wound. So Manfred, in his magic phases, he can always re-roll the 1 die from the Winds of Magic. So his magic phases are like 10 and 12 all game long. So that's we need to kill the damn thing, and getting 5 wounds is just too little. Go to Vampire Count's turn 3. He decides it's time to just throw his troops in and start killing stuff, and I don't disagree. So he takes his Black Knights, and with his 2 vampire characters, they charge the Screaming Bell unit. I think he failed 1 dangerous terrain. The Blood Knights charged the rats on the bottom and didn't fail any dangerous terrain. And otherwise, everything is as you can see. It takes 1 unit of Fellbats, flies over the Screaming Bell unit so it can charge my Warp Lightning Cannon next time. Yeah, there's that. So he positioned it such that that Feskett and Manfred are not touching each other, because it just forces the issue. I mean, if we're touching each other, then we might as well get in a challenge, because either way, they have to direct their attacks at each other. So by not touching them, it just kind of opens up other options. Yeah, so there's that. And after the magic phase, yeah, the Terrorgeist is up to 3 wounds, so he's healed a couple, which just bites. But I'm hopeful that our Warp Lightning Cannon can kill it next time. So in the magic phase, he also gets Doom and Darkness off on these guys. They're -3 leadership, which means to stick, they need a 7, I think. And it's important to stick, because if they don't, the Blood Knights can just reform. I don't think they're frenzied, can just reform and then charge the flank of the Screaming Bell unit, and they are going to just cause so much damage. And we stuck, so I was very happy about that. We have a BSB. He came in within range. I'm not positive if he was on the table at this point. This might be a turn where we didn't have a reroll yet. Just not sure. We're also rolling with the Screaming Bell, and twice during the game, all units within 24 inches can reroll leadership tests, so that might have been in play as well. After combat here, so since Feskett was not in combat, I made way to the other side of the combat. He goes first, and he killed the Killy Vampire outright, so that was great. I like him going against just regular knights, because he just is going to kill a few each turn, and otherwise these rats are never going to kill him. His guys do a bunch of wounds to my guys. We're not in any challenges. And overall, I'm happy enough with how things went. I just have no idea how that battle's going to go. I think both of us are looking at that, and we're thinking, if things with the whole game get to the point where you think you're going to lose, then you say, screw it, you issue a challenge, or you try to just in some way try to get in a challenge between the two generals and let it end like that. And of course, if you think you're winning, then you want to do the opposite. You want to avoid that challenge. Vampire counts turn 3. Yeah, the rats kill the last dog. And we go to Skaven turn 3. Yeah, so overall it looks like that. You can see the Doom Wheel and the rats come in the middle to help out. The BSB came on and joined that unit, which is on the far right of this picture. So now we definitely have a BSB nearby. If you look at the bottom middle, kind of, one of our Warlock engineers came on the board. I think the first 2 turns we did not have a Dispel Scroll on the table because it was held by one of these guys, and so now we do. So this is the BSB. Well, I don't see the BSB in there. Heck, I don't even know. Anyway, this is the guys coming on the table. I know during the magic phase it's either +1 attack or poison on the Screaming Bell unit. Either way, we were able to do a wound to Manfred, and you can see that we've taken that unit down just a little bit smaller. I think at this point we get a challenge between his Black Knight's champion and the Grey Seer, which in hindsight probably wasn't a smart thing, but basically I was hesitant to put Feskett in with his champion because I wanted Feskett to be able to kill rank and file knights. In hindsight, he has 5 attacks, which is great, but so he kills 2 or 3 knights. That could have waited. I probably should have used him just to kill that champion. Again, my big fear is I just don't want him in a challenge with Manfred, and so as long as those 2 are tied up in a challenge, then that can't happen. Anywho, but that's what's going on there. If you look at the bottom, Blood Knights are killing bunches of rats. Rats actually eked out another wound against them. I'm still -3 tough, -3 leadership, -7 rerollable, and they stick it. Vampire counts turn 4. So he takes his dogs and plants them in front of my Doom Wheel and my other unit coming in so that he can block them from contributing all that combat res. If you look at the very top middle left, you can see he has a unit of Spirit Hosts that have charged the unit of rats, which is good for him because I can't hurt those guys. And they just has this Terrorgeist sitting here. You can see during my turn, I failed to wound the Terrorgeist, which just bites because now he can regrew wounds. As Fellbats charge my Warp Lightning Cannon, so that's not going to help anymore. Yeah. 2 chances to kill the Terrorgeist guy. There's that. And after combat looks like this. So I'm going to go up. I need to look at something. Yeah, so here's his Black Knights unit is down to the champion, 3 knights, and Manfred. And it looks like during the magic phase he was able to grow some. Manfred has taken another wound. Somewhere along the line the Terrorgeist has taken 1 wound because it's at 4 now. But he has more Black Knights available. So yeah, it's just a grind. I'm really concerned about the number of rats I have there. Not many. Yeah, so just more angles. But the good thing is these rats at the bottom are holding. That has been absolutely just critical. And this was just a big push. I don't think he did any wounds to me. I think I did 1 wound to him. He had a charge. I had a wound. It was a tie. So Skaven turn 4. The Doom Wheel and the rats and my little rat dart kind of unit charge into the wolves just to take care of them. On the right, we take that unit of rats and we angle it towards the Blood Knights so that when the rats down there eventually break or die, I can countercharge. And if you look at the top middle, my rats had lost combat and fled from the Spirit Host. My opponent just reformed. So here's a picture of that combat. Yeah, just reformed. So we took the Doom Wheel and aimed it at this Spirit Host. It didn't need a huge roll. It needed a big roll, a decent roll on 3 dice. Rolled 3 6s. I mean, zoomed all the way across the table. And its attacks are magical, so it's going to kill that very easily. And for the second turn in a row, Feskett has taken a wound from the Fellblade. So now he's down to a single wound remaining. Now I really don't want to get in a challenge with Manfred because I will certainly die. And, you just never know if you're going to kill him. So I'm out of combat at the moment, but I'll make way and get into combat. He kind of has... I'm going to go back up. He kind of has a nice thing when it gets like this because I can make way touching one guy, do my attacks, kill at least one guy, and then I'm out of combat and he can't allocate attacks at me. So that's kind of nice. And this is the very bottom. I didn't feel like breaking these unit fillers. Basically, I've got 8 rats left. I was steadfast by 1, and stuck, which is very nice. And after combat looks like that. Yeah, so I reformed to go 5 wide because we're just down so low on rats. We have his champion and the Grey Seer are just in a challenge. They've only taken one. The Grey Seer's taken 1 wound after what 2 or 3 rounds of combat. Manfred's taken another wound. I think that might have been from, I don't know if that's from combat res or from the Rat Ogre. I guess the Rat Ogre does not participate in the challenge, so he's just allocating his attacks on Manfred, and Manfred's taken 2 wounds. He has 3 wounds left. Dude is not easy to kill. And yeah, the bats break the warp lightning cannon. It runs away and they just reform. And of course his dogs didn't even get to attack. We just crushed them. So Vampire Count's turn 5. Takes a zombie dragon, flies it all the way to the top right, and it's going to scream at that doom wheel. Get some easy points and save that thing from charging his guys. All the things that matter are there in the middle. He's got his Black Knight champion and Manfred, and then he's got his Blood Knights. And after that, everything else seems just minor. Now, he has been bringing things on. If you look at the very left-hand side of the picture, he's got 2 units of skeletons that he really didn't care about participating in the battle. So, I mean, you can only bring in 3 each turn. So he's finally bringing in skeletons, and they can't march. They're not going to do anything. He's just bringing them in. He does fly a unit of fell bats into combat, knowing it's going to give me active combat res. But by doing that, it keeps Feskett from being able to move over, to make way and come touch Manfred. So I don't know what the right decision would be there, but I probably would have gone over Manfred and just killed each other, because I'm on 1 wound left, and I have two turns yet that if I roll a 1 or 2, I'm going to die from the Fellblade. So screw it. I can't be in the challenge, so it's not going to end the game. I'll just go over there, kill Manfred, let him kill me, and at least it's a trade. So he flies the bats up to try to keep that from happening. Terrorgeist easily kills the Doom Wheel. Pass on my panics. These guys kill the rest of those rats. Those rats never broke. Bless them. So now as Blood Knights reform, I don't know if it's too little too late, but he needed that help a long time ago. The Grey Seer has now taken 2 wounds in his challenge. So it's getting scary. After combat, we win by a few, so he has to crumble by 2, and he puts both those wounds on Manfred. He didn't want to lose the Black Knight. So we go to Skaven turn 5, and the Fellblade kills our general. Feskett is now dead. Darn him. But he survived long enough for good things to happen. So one thing I like about Skaven is their movement 5. I like that a lot for infantry. So the unit that was in the middle of the table, they charge the flank of the Black Knight champion, and they make it. So it's just awesome. It's going to be so much static combat res. My opponent's not going to get a magic phase. I'm hoping I should be able to do enough to avoid enough wounds that I can just pop them through combat res. Meanwhile, the BSB's unit charges the Black Knights, the Blood Knights. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but it's better than nothing. And if you look, the Hell Pit Abomination has finally come on the board, the bottom right. That was actually a mistake. We could have charged the bats, but here's what happened. We came on at the table edge, and I said, okay, we're going to angle them toward the Blood Knights and try to get in that combat. And we rolled plenty high to get there, and then I realized that there's just no way they could fit. And so my opponent said it was cool. We would just point them forward, but I didn't want to say we're going to point them at the bats, because it was kind of a dick thing to do. So Hell Pit's kind of doing nothing back there, except maybe just saving his points. The Doom Wheel top middle tried to make a long charge for the Terrorgeist. Couldn't quite make it, but at least we can shoot at it. There's that. I have no idea how that's going to go. And I'm pretty sure I know how that's going to go. And after combat, yeah, I don't think we killed Manfred from combat res. I think the Rat Ogre finally killed Manfred. And then combat res easily killed the Black Knight champion. I don't know why we would overrun with that unit, but it doesn't matter. Overrun with 1. I reformed. The other unit came in, and somehow, some way, the Battle Standard Bearer, I don't remember his kit, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But he comes in there and kills 2 Blood Knights. So then his Blood Knights one of them tried to attack him and just whiffed his attacks. The other one did maybe a wound or two, and we just popped them through static combat res. So really rough luck for the VC right there. Not a lot to do on VC's turn 6. He moves. His crumbling actually hasn't been affecting anything. I was really hoping his Terrorgeist would die from crumbling, but he didn't. He had 2 Banshees that he brought on in the game. One of them died from crumbling. The other one moved up. That and the Terrorgeist are going to try to kill the Doomwheel, just get some final points. They do. That's Vampire turn 6, and then Skaven turn 6. There was just nothing. We were out of range to do anything, so we were just like that, and the game ends. So yeah, victory to the Skaven. That was a really fun game. It was very, very different with the deployment things, but I don't know. I thought it was just a whole lot of fun. The limitations of only bringing on 3. If your vampire counts, what are you going to do about these huge units of rats when you can't overwhelm them with too many units? Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Hey everyone, Once Bitten here. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. As you know, YouTube has several functions you can use to interact with videos such as this. You can like the video, you can leave a comment, you can favorite the video. I want you to know that I appreciate it when you do things like that. It feels much more interactive than simply me talking to a screen. So if you're willing to do so, please like, comment, and favorite the videos. Subscribe to the channel if you want, and you certainly are welcome to share this video on your blog or other websites if you are so inclined. Again, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.